What's up, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Wizards Latest. I'm your host and DC sports fan, Ben Robertson, and on this page, we break down all the biggest headlines and rumors surrounding the Washington Wizards. So make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. Don't forget to drop your comments as well with any thoughts you have for me on this video or anything you want to hear me talk about in the future. Appreciate all the support here on the road to 1K. We've recently hit 600 subscribers. Shout out and thank you to Multiverse Joe down in that comment section for the congratulations. He mentioned it before I even said something about it here on the page. So again, guys, thanks for tuning in every single weekday. Plenty to discuss today. It's NBA opening night. Wizards basketball getting started tomorrow. This is a Tuesday edition of Wizards Latest. So I'm going to continue giving out my season predictions for this year. Talk about one thing the Wizards opening night roster has shown us. We'll discuss some injury news for this week. And lastly, as usual, we got to take a look around the league for some possible targets for this Wizards rebuild. Again, guys, I appreciate all the support here on the page. I say it all the time, but so glad and grateful to have a platform to talk about this team, and glad you guys are interested and continue tuning in. So, I've seen a lot of discussions about Keyshawn George, not just following kind of the beginning of our season prediction discussions yesterday, but really all off season. You guys are fired up about his, going into year two. I am as well. Yesterday, the comments were specifically referencing Keyshawn is on a lot of your fantasy rosters. You guys made sure to let me know he was one of the key players you've been looking to pick up. And by the way, this is a good choice, not just for Wizards fans because we want to see him, but NBC Sports has released their fantasy sleepers here earlier this month, and Keyshawn was the #1 player on that list. He was ahead of guys like Keon Ellis, and Nikola Jovic down in Miami. And both of those players, Ellis being out in Sacramento, those two guys are really dudes that are expected to take off at the moment they get more playing time, and it looks like they're both going to get that here this season. Side note, I have a fantasy draft here tonight. Don't get on me. I know, embarrassingly late. I'm not the commissioner of this league. I would not be commissioning a opening night fantasy draft. I am the commissioner of my fantasy football league and reigning champion, by the way. And our draft was held at a much more timely manner than this. But for my fantasy heads, again, that I saw down in that comment section, let me know if you have any advice for this evening's draft. But I want to get back into season predictions and talking about Keyshawn George, because that was really obviously the main point here on the rundown. His numbers from last year: 8.7 points per game, about 4 rebounds per game, and 2.5 assists. He shot 37% from the floor, 32% from three-point land, and about 75% from the free throw line. Now, I would say, and I think we as a fan base understand, those numbers don't tell the full story. Remember, for the first half of the season, Keyshawn was shooting well below 30% from the three-point line, and we know he is a much better shooter than he kind of displayed to start off his rookie campaign, and it's one of the reasons that, I don't know, am I crazy to say, I really think Keyshawn might have the ability to double his scoring average here this season, maybe get up to 15, 16 points per game. He has all the tools. 6'9", can handle, can shoot, as we've discussed, and we really saw that in the back half of last year. And I thought his shooting touches looked great all offseason as well. We know he can defend. He's committed on that side of the court as well, even when the offensive game isn't rolling. It really feels like the sky is the limit for Keyshawn George going forward in the NBA. It might be the player I'm most excited to watch on the Wizards this upcoming season. And we got to remember, he was the 24th overall pick in his class. Could just be a massive steal. Again, let me know your thoughts on kind of, and maybe expectations for his season coming up. But I mentioned that height that he was listed at on the opening night roster, which I thought was very revealing. Keyshawn George reportedly put on 2 pounds and also grew 2 inches. He went from 6'7" on last year's roster. No, I'm not doing the thing. To now 6'9" on this opening night roster. Obviously, sometimes NBA heights can get, they can stray from the truth a little bit on those listed heights. But at Keyshawn's age of 21, it is still very plausible that he gained a couple of inches to his frame. What's more revealing, I think, from some of those listed heights and weights on that opening night roster: Alex Sarr up 12 pounds, Bilal Coulibaly up 8 pounds, Tristan Vukcevic up 15 pounds. Corey Kispert, a few years older, obviously, up 5 pounds on his frame as well. It was an obvious priority this offseason from the coaching staff, from the training staff, from the front office to put muscle onto some of these young players' bodies. And I think it's awesome that the players bought into that. We know that Will Dawkins has expressed, the team is very closely monitored how often these guys were in the facility all offseason. And it's just great to see the players at a pretty young age, I might add, are buying in not only on the court to improving their games, but in the weight room, because we know you have to develop your frame in the NBA as well. It's something we've seen so many players as they get older be able to add muscle. And it's why you see a Corey Kispert still working on that at 26 years old. Love that from the young guys. I really think with a player like Alex Sarr, it's only going to help him moving forward. Let's dive into the latest injury news. Want to talk about that real quick if you haven't heard yet. Bub Carrington was a full participant in this past Sunday's practice. So he was, obviously had that injury scare in the final preseason game. It was something to monitor going into opening night, it looked like, but I imagine if he's a full participant, if he's practicing, he will play in that opening night matchup against the Bucks. AJ Johnson missed the preseason, looks like he is good to go. And remember, no Bilal Coulibaly to start off the year. On the note of Bilal, and it's only supposed to be a few games that he is out, but I think he will be the guy that I'm discussing tomorrow in terms of individual player predictions. We chatted about Alex Sarr yesterday, gave you kind of the rundown of what I thought his numbers would look like, so make sure you go check that video out if you haven't already. But final talking point here today is really a discussion from last week I want to circle back to. Mentioned the idea of, maybe making a move or just a call for Donovan Clingan out in Portland. Obviously, a situation brewing there. Clingan, the number 7 overall pick from last year, but everybody was kind of scratching their heads after Portland in this year's first round went back in and selected Jan Hansen, obviously a different type of player, but at the same position. And it's made a lot of people around the league go, is it only a matter of time before Donovan Clingan goes on the trade market? And here in DC, we have often discussed the possibility of pairing another big man with Alex Sarr, and the idea of, adding a rim running, shot blocking, big fella inside. To me, it really excites you, to be quite honest. You think about the defensive potential. I think the ideal addition in terms of that mold of player would be a Walker Kessler type, a player that averaged a double-double last year, shoots close to 70% from the floor, has been a guy that's averaged more than 2 blocks every year of his career so far. Now, the general sense out of Utah is that they're more keen to trading Lauri Markkanen than Kessler, but Kessler didn't get extended here this offseason, headed towards restricted free agency. You wonder if maybe it's a situation to monitor there in Utah as well. I definitely think the Wizards front office, Will Dawkins and co., will have eyes out on the situation in Portland. Getting back to Alex Sarr, Again, and kind of back on the topic of player predictions. Remember, go check out my predictions for his season from yesterday. In tomorrow's episode, I'm going to continue to discuss why it's such a pivotal season for him, even at such a young point in his career coming up. And make sure you've hit those like and subscribe buttons on today's episode. Drop your comments as well. Plenty to discuss there. I appreciate all the support here on the page, you guys. Remember, we've recently hit 600 subscribers, but we're still going on the road to 1K. I thank you for all the support, and I thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wizards Latest.